Welcome to Field of Hope's Lunch and Learn Session 2 with Okullu Walter. For those of you joining us on Facebook Live, we're going to give about 1 or 2 minutes before we officially begin our program so that more of you can join to learn a little bit more about the good work that Field of Hope is doing. I'm Tobin Redwine, and I'm joined with Okullu Walter, country coordinator for our efforts in Uganda. And we'll make again formal introductions soon. But for now, welcome, friends. Obanga Migum, Walter, it's great to see you. How are you?
Well, thank you so much, Tobin. I'm all okay. I'm looking healthy, as you can see. I'm feeling good, and I'm so excited for tonight.
That's right.
It's such an honor being with. Yes.
It's evening in Uganda right now. So Walter said for tonight, it's lunchtime for our friends in the States. And man, I'm glad to see my friend Walter. Yeah, I told him the same thing, Alexa. I said, it's a nice shirt. Thanks for checking in. Hey, Graham Thompson. Hey, Jess. Hey, Alexa. I was so excited to see Walter, my friends. He as soon as we got on, he said, hey, Tobin, it's good to see you. You need a haircut. So thanks for keeping me in check, Walter.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I can see, Walter, there are a handful of friends joining us now and viewing. So again, for those of you joining us live on Facebook Live to learn more about Field of Hope, I'm Tobin Redwine. I am on the board of directors for Field of Hope, and I've also been a volunteer with Field of Hope several times, most closely aligned with the Youth Agricultural Education pillar, which is one of the focuses of our conversation today. But you're not here to learn from me. You're here to learn from one of my dear friends and longtime supporter of Field of Hope, and now one of the leaders of Field of Hope, our country coordinator for Uganda, Okullu Walter. Walter, anything you'd like to say to our friends who are joining us?
Well, thank you so much, Tobin, once again, and thank you everyone on this call. It's such an honor being with you tonight. I must say, the other time I enjoyed so much the segment that we had. It was fun interacting with you, and I received incredible feedbacks from all of you. And that kept me really so inspired. And I'm so excited to be with you again today on this call. And I hope to discuss with you a lot more about Field of Hope and the work we do. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Walter. Thanks to our friends joining us like Joanne Wilcox. Hey, how are you? And I also see our friend Catherine Vinson. Hey, Catherine. Great to have you guys with us here. So yeah, you guys know that Walter is our Ugandan country coordinator. And Walter mentioned this is our second Lunch and Learn session. We had another one a few weeks ago, and we think it went great. But there's other opportunities for you guys to learn about our efforts through Walter. If you are not checking us out on YouTube, you can, and you can see that we've got a weekly show on YouTube, Walter Wisdom Wednesdays, where each Wednesday Walter drops a little bit of knowledge about our efforts in Uganda. That's pretty cool. So check it out. And so again, Walter and I have been working together through Field of Hope for some time, and I'm here in my role as a board member and as a supporter from my career in academia and ag education. Today, we're here to talk about Field of Hope's efforts in youth agricultural education. So for those of you joining us, like our friend Jay, hey Jay, we're so glad you're here. Jay Olson's one of our board members. Thanks, Jay. We asked for questions from our supporters and friends to kind of introduce what Field of Hope does, and we've organized those questions into different segments based on how they align with our work. So today we're going to talk about Field of Hope and some of the work that we do related to youth agricultural education. So to begin with, Walter, can you just tell us a little bit about Field of Hope as an organization, and this question came to us from Jessica, how does Field of Hope engage youth through agriculture?
Yes, thank you so much, Tobin, and thank you so much, Jess, for that great question. So just to give a bit of a background about Field of Hope, for those of you who could not have been with us on the previous call, Field of Hope mission is actually aligned with developing or agriculture in Uganda, and here we work with the youth and the smallholder farmers to ensure that they realize their dream. So talking of the youth agricultural education, which is one of the 3 pillars under Field of Hope, this, I would say, has become the most important of late. Why? Because it's cutting across the rest of the pillars. You find that the approach we have employed here actually touches both the smallholder farmer advancement pillar and as well the leadership development pillar. So, Jess, thank you so much for this question again. So youth agricultural education pillar, one thing that we have really tried to do as Field of Hope to ensure that we engage the youth is the curriculum development, which ensures that we work with the schools. And in this curriculum, it's actually a review of the old curriculum, which was being used by the Uganda education system. And as you're aware, the approach that was employed in there wasn't really practical in nature, and that made most of the youth to really look at agriculture as a punishment, and none of them really wanted to go into it. So what the curriculum development section does is that it reviewed the curriculum itself and made it more practical, more experiential, and more engaging, and above all, it is learner-centered. So in this way, we ensure that we actually motivated more students to go into agriculture, and not only that, also take agriculture as a means of living, because as you're aware, most of the people in the country depend on agriculture as a source of livelihood. And Field of Hope does appreciate that by empowering these people. These are the next generation of agriculturists, and this will ensure that even when our efforts come to an end, these are the people who will carry on, this kind of vision into the future. And it also helps in such a way that the youth who will be coming after that may not necessarily require our efforts, because this kind of tradition has already been inculcated into the current generation, and we are pretty sure this will actually carry along for a foreseeable future. So initially, the effort that Field of Hope undertook was working with the orphanage homes. That was before we really realigned our strategies. So here we supported the orphanage homes with drip irrigation facilities. And the aim was, first of all, to enhance food production, which was to supplement their food, and also as a source of income for the orphanage facilities. But later on, we realized that the knowledge, the skills that these people acquired from there, they actually transmitted them home, and most of them started doing these projects or undertaking these projects in their own homes. So additionally, if I could take you back a bit, Tobin, Mike, who is one of the founding members, really.
He's talking about our friend Mike Hafner, one of the founders of Field of Hope, and a great mentor and leader for all of us. Go ahead, Walter.
Exactly. So, Mike, at one point when he was in Uganda, he was given an opportunity to teach the secondary school students with agriculture. And from there, he discovered a lot about the approach and how people perceived agriculture in Uganda. So this gave birth to the need for us to review the curriculum which is being used by the school in Uganda. And in this approach that we try to employ, it ensured that agriculture is not just studied as a subject, but it became more practical. And actually, we made them appreciate that it's part of the day-to-day living. And in that, these students ensured that they could actually transfer the knowledge that they had from the class to their homesteads. So the other approach that we are trying to use to ensure that these people are fully part of agriculture is the issuance of inspiring students in an agriculture grant. So Field of Hope annually supports a given number of schools with funds towards agricultural projects. So this ensures that what we actually advocated for in our curriculum is enhanced given that most of these schools do not normally have the resources to set the projects that would aid practical learning. So in this way, we find that the students have that opportunity to experience, these hands-on experiences, and they're in position to replicate this whenever they are back at home. So that's also another way that we have been trying to engage the youth in agriculture. Due to COVID-19, I must also say that it presented us with another opportunity. Yes, it was a challenge, but because of the efforts and working together with our partners, other teachers who are in schools, we were in position to ensure that students who are at home during the COVID-19 period and who are practicing these skills and knowledge in their own home settings were in position to showcase whatever projects they were having at home. And this provided actually a platform for learning for other students who possibly could not have been engaged in these projects, but had access to online devices. So this was also another way that we ensured that this information cascaded to the rest of the people.
Excellent, Walter. Thanks for that overview of how Field of Hope is engaging with Youth Ag Ed. That has spurred some really cool follow-up questions. And again, I applaud Catherine saying, that's awesome. The creative team at Field of Hope led by Walter, and I see our other Field of Hope staffer here, Nicholas, is joining online to watch us. This is a great, brilliant team. Walter, Nicholas, and Agnes of our leaders in Field of Hope to help us think through how can we continue this engagement in COVID-19. Walter, you did share in your response that one of the most important and transformative ways that the agricultural education efforts are impacting people is that students are taking what they learn home, and they're doing it in their home. And Faith Meinzen asked, I'll show her comment here, she said, can you share a story of how one of those students took his or her learning home? Are there any specific stories that you can recall, Walter, of one thing that a student learned from that curriculum and then they implemented at their own home?
Wow, great question. I could cite quite a number of such scenarios, but one student whom I can mention offhand is Okullu Jeremiah. Okullu Jeremiah belongs to one of the schools that benefited from the inspiring students in agriculture grant, and also his teacher is one of the people who was trained by Field of Hope and actually had been using the curriculum. So given the approach in the curriculum and also the support that was given by Field of Hope, Okullu Jeremiah was in position, during the COVID-19 period, he was in position to set up a small project at home. And remember, this is a boy who comes from a destitute family, and they were not in position to pay for all the siblings because the parents are not well-to-do. And at some point, he himself spent a term out of school because of inability of the parents to pay his school fees. So Okullu invested in this project, and he was in position to pay for the school dues for the subsequent terms, actually the subsequent 2 terms, and as well, he was in position to support his siblings at home. So this is a live scenario, and we have also captured it in our blog. You can check it on our website. And we have several of other students who have been inspired by this effort alone, Faith.
That's awesome, Walter. I love that story about Jeremiah. Took something he learned back into his home community. That's fantastic. We really appreciate that anecdote. Okay, let's go to another question we had submitted to us before we began. This question comes to us from Micah, who is a graduate student at Texas A&M. Hey, Micah. She said, can you tell us more about the partnership Field of Hope has had with Vivaic in meeting the role of agricultural education?
Well, Micah, thank you so much for that great question. Talking of Vivaic, we wouldn't be talking about youth agriculture education without them. They are really a great partner, and over the time, they have shown a lot of professionalism and dedication towards this cause, and they took actually the lead in developing, the teacher's guide that we are using today. So Vivaic has worked with us for close to now 4 years. Remember, it was in 2017, 2018 when we gave birth to this idea trying to revise the secondary school curriculum, and it all started with senior one. So over the time, VIVIC has been working hand in hand with Field of Hope to ensure that they develop the teachers' guides and teachers' supplements to date. And if it was not because of COVID-19, I believe in 2022, in January, we will be having the launch of the senior 4 or level of the teachers' guides and the supplement. So all this time, they have been working with Field of Hope, and they are the brain behind developing the contents and this resource tool. And to date, we have had over 1,600 copies of teachers' guides and supplements which have been printed, and these were directly due to their efforts. So, talking of VIVIC, one is that development of the curriculum, and trust me, friends, a lot of work goes into this this activity. It's a very complex and rigorous process, which requires template design, essential knowledge packaging, design and developing, and above all, supporting the implementation. So VIVIC has really been steadfast in ensuring that they help Field of Hope in accomplishing these tasks. So other than developing the curriculum, VIVIC also took part in the teacher professional development. Yes, we are aware the tools or the resource was designed, but implementation was also another thing altogether. There was a need for these teachers to be acquainted with what is emphasized in the approaches that they're supposed to use. So VIVIC still stood hand in hand with Field of Hope to ensure that they come to Uganda and do physical training of these teachers so that they're in position to utilize these resources. And above all, even during COVID-19 period, they still work hand in hand with Field of Hope to ensure that virtually we are in position to conduct the virtual teacher training. So those are two of the many work that went into developing the teacher's guide as far as VIVIC is concerned. So the other one is developing the teacher evaluation tools. As you're aware, for it to be a complete resource or tool, it's important that we have evaluation, or framework, and they have also been helping Field of Hope to develop this, and this ensure that it's very possible to always review and make adjustments where maybe we have challenges as far as implementation of the guide is concerned, or as far as developing the content is concerned. And the last one is training of the master trainers. Field of Hope appreciates that at some point, Ugandans will have to take lead in training other teachers so that, for sustainability purposes. So VIVIC still went ahead and conducted several training for the trainers, who in turn help train other instructors across the board. So talk of VIVIC, you couldn't talk about this pillar without their efforts, and I would say they're the main brain behind it, Tobin.
Excellent. Thanks, Walter. And as you know, Walter, I love VIVIC because I met VIVIC through Field of Hope. I first became acquainted with Field of Hope about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's where I first met VIVIC. They were on a scoping trip to learn more about writing that teacher's guide that you were talking about. And I loved them so much. I work for them now. And one of my favorite parts of my job at VIVIC is to continue to partner with Field of Hope. Field of Hope is really built on those types of partnerships, as Walter knows. And so that's a great transition into, we had this question from Melissa Sayers. Hey, Melissa. And it's, how can I get involved with Field of Hope? And my answer for that, Melissa, is there's a lot of ways that you can partner with Field of Hope. And I would bounce over to Field of Hope's website, www.fieldofhope.org, to learn about ways that you can partner with us. And it's those partnerships like Field of Hope and partnerships through prayer that really make Field of Hope's work come alive. Thanks for your great questions that are coming in, guys. We're going to try to get to them all. As you were describing, Walter, the way that Field of Hope was training other teachers and building up teachers, that led Jay Olson, our friend Jay, asked, Can you describe what one of those classes looks like? Like describe where classes are held and who works with our farmers and our teachers after the trainings. So Walter, can you describe a little bit in the Youth Ag Ed pillar, what does a typical classroom look like, and what's Field of Hope's role in after training those teachers? What's our role in connecting with them?
Well, thank you so much, Jay. That's a great question. So, Field of Hope always ensures that its effort doesn't only stop at or disseminating the information to the teachers. So, in a typical classroom setting, it's actually it involves a lot of interaction with the teachers, and as you know, this I would say would be a combination of both formal and non-formal or facilitation skills, because we believe that these teachers already know a lot regarding their area of specialty. So what Field of Hope does is in conjunction with VIBE, which is the leading trainer here, it ensures that it's just a facilitator, and just ensures that these teachers discover their potential and they're pumped up for their roles. And at the end of that, when the in-person training is done, we still make extra efforts after the distribution of the guides. We ensure that we go to the schools and observe them teach. Okay, we also teach. We interact with the students about their experiences, learning using this resource tool. And that also guides us when it comes to reviewing of some of the approaches, the contents that are embedded therein. So this is typically what our training looks like, Jay.
Thanks, Walter. And I have seen, I've been on the ground in Uganda while our team has been following up with those teachers after the training. So as Walter described, Field of Hope gives a teacher's guide to a teacher. Then they train the teacher on how to use that guide. And then they follow up throughout the next year to check in and observe them in the classroom and answer any further questions. So I love that a lot about the model that Field of Hope's doing, in that it's very sustainable. It's not a one-time, here's a resource and then we're out of the picture. Walter and Nicholas and Agnes and our team of Ugandans are really purposeful about connecting with those teachers to ensure consistent development, which is really fantastic, Walter. Thanks for describing that. Our next question comes to us from Maureen. Maureen said, Walter, what are the future goals for Ugandan agricultural education that Field of Hope desires?
Wow, great question, Maureen. So we appreciate that we started small as an organization. Given the resources that we have, of course, we appreciate that we can't cover everyone. So our future goal, first of all, is that all the teachers receive the professional development training, and also their technical capacities are enhanced. It would be meaningless to talk about changing the future of agriculture or trying to empower the youth or the students if the people, their mentors, their facilitators, who are the teachers, do not have the right tools to execute this task. So that's why having a critical mass of the teachers who are empowered professionally and technically will ensure that we can achieve, this goal of changing the future of the outlook of agriculture in the country. The other goal that Field of Hope would desire is, given the current change in the policy, for some of you who could have been following closely, there was a recent change where agriculture was made elective, and it's still our desire that the government reconsiders this decision and makes it obligatory, because it would be a total disaster for a country like Uganda that depends, whose economy largely depends on agriculture, to overlook or underlook the industry. So this is also one area that we would really desire that they really work upon. The other is more investment in education to enhance practical learning. You will realize that Field of Hope as an organization has strived, but we have thousands of schools, okay? We have thousands of schools that need to be supported along this line. And sometimes leaving this to the development partners alone may not bridge the gap. So I still feel that it's really important that the government steps in or invests more into agriculture, develops the infrastructure that really support this cause, so that even though we have other partners standing in the gap, or it's the critical mass is actually reached, and we can see a tangible change. The other desire that Field of Hope has is that all the schools change from the old system and employ the competency-based approach, which is actually an all-round agricultural strategy, and that focuses on critical areas that makes a student not only an agriculturist by profession, but really well versed in other disciplines, which are always interrelated in this dynamic world we are living in. And I think this is clearly spelled even in the Field of Hope guides. And we look to see that this is something that is embraced by all schools, not only a handful of them. And also, above all, they don't leave it with the secondary schools. It's something that has to be shifted also to the universities, because this is the institution that trains the teachers who will actually come and handle these people. So once we create that gap, we're only focusing on the secondary school students, and we leave the university, which produces the instructors who are supposed to come back and facilitate this people's learning. Then I think there will be a gap that is created there. So this is also one area that we feel that should also be addressed. And the other is incorporating ICT. I must say, Tobin, COVID-19 has really given us a lot of lessons, but I think it was also interesting because we saw so many opportunities embedded in it. And we feel that it's time as a country we look at employing ICT and incorporating it as part of agriculture. Because
can you share, ICT, Walter, what ICT stands for? That's information communication technology. Yes.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I was using an abbreviation. So yeah, that is what it means. And with the changing trend, information communication technology is the leading driver, and we feel that through our efforts we should also be in position to sell these ideas to some of the stakeholders who are closer to the government, and the government can actually take it up and ensure that Uganda is not left behind. Actually, it has to move with the rest of the world. The other desire we have as Field of Hope is that the government also provides an enabling environment for innovations and research. Tobin, I must say, we have so many students who are graduating out of school, and most times we have special projects, we have researches, but these stop at prototypes. Why? Because we don't have any special, funding or arrangement that really that ensures that we take these discoveries to another level, or we scale out. So many efforts, many innovations have stopped at prototypes just because they will lack this kind of support. Yes. So
continue. Yes. Go ahead, Walter.
Please. Please. So and above all, Field of Hope recognizes the fact that the people who are supposed to lead this country's agricultural industry are the youth. So we want to see a youth-led agricultural industry in the near future. One, it will ensure that some of the efforts that have been used to address agricultural challenges can be met. Why? I assume that a student or a pupil who has had exposure to these skills, to these techniques, and they have become passionate just because we were in position to change their mindset. These are the people who will grow up. When the older generation is phased out, there may not even be any need for us to have extension agents. Why? Because they themselves know what to do. Secondly, they themselves will not allow the community around them to do something that's not right because they grew up with that mindset. Mm-hmm. They know what's supposed to be done. And in that way, you find that minimal effort will be actually required from both the government and the private sector because these people are empowered, and it becomes actually more sustainable, self-sustainable. So this is what we really desire as Field of Hope, and we would be so happy if this could be achieved, Tobin.
I think that's fantastic, Walter. And in my role, I've spent the last 5 years as a professor at Texas A&M. We've observed how school-based agricultural education, the model you're describing, engages the youth, and it not only helps educate youth, but just as you described, it helps those youth be leaders in their communities and in their areas to further disseminate those innovations of agriculture. So we're seeing that all over the world. That happens in Uganda, that happens in the United States, which just further reinforces this wonderful work that you are leading, Walter, in Field of Hope to help engage the youth and remind them of the opportunity in agriculture and the obligation of agriculturalists to help serve their countries and feed the world. As you were visiting about ICTs, about information and communication technology, it made me lean back up here I'm trying to address some of the questions that we've had previously. And I know that you are using some ICTs to engage teachers, both through WhatsApp and through our virtual experience. And our friend Jessica wanted to know more about that. She said, how many teachers do you work with and how do you engage them? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Wow, thank you so much. So we engage with these teachers in two forms. There's what I would call the pre-COVID-19 era, where we had where we had the physical interaction with the teachers. So typically what we would do, we would have a biannual training arrangement, and we would always divide it into two, given the proximity. So one would always be held in the southern part of the country, typically in Kampala, then the other in the northern part of the country. So this would allow the teachers who are around, those training venues to have the opportunity to travel and be part of the training. So, normally it takes about 3 to 4 days because we handle quite a number of contents, not only about agriculture, but also developing their profession as teachers. And so that's typically how it used to be. And we could have about 80 to even 100 teachers who would come for these trainings. Then there's the one I would call the COVID-19 version of the training, where we had to go virtual. So that was held last year around August.
Yep.
And I'm so happy to tell you that it was successful by its standard. We were in position to have over 140 teachers who registered for the training. Over 80 completed all the 5 modules. So what was done is that we had pre-recorded videos, we had activities, we had all these resources online, and they would always take this course or these modules at their own convenience. And we would hold weekly Zoom calls to ensure that we really try to create that sense of interaction and learn from each other, share experiences. So it was first of its kind, but to me, I would say it was very successful given the challenges that we met along the way.
Excellent. And I know that whether it's pre-COVID or post-COVID, can you tell me, isn't there also a WhatsApp group that all Field of Hope partner teachers use to communicate with each other?
Absolutely, Tobin. Thank you so much for that reminder. So, talking of virtual, we are not only, we didn't only engage the teachers on Zoom or the Google Classroom. So we also have WhatsApp groups where all these teachers we work with are part of. So these groups enhance communication. We disseminate a lot of information, some educative, some just informative. So this keeps us also interacting a lot and getting to learn more about their daily lives and experiences, or share our future plans and all that. And yeah, it really makes the world a very small place because we're in position to interact.
That's right. And so, if I summarize some of Walter's comments for all of you friends who are still hanging with us in Facebook land, thanks for joining us. Walter talked about ways that Field of Hope is engaging in youth agricultural education efforts, from things like our Inspiring Students in Agriculture grants, which is a grant that Field of Hope gives to schools and to projects. Also in sponsoring drip irrigation in gardens at schools, both in orphanages and at Okullu University and at other schools. And that's moved on to partnering with Vivaic to develop a teacher's guide, which we then also give to teachers and train teachers to use and follow up and support them as they're teaching. Field of Hope didn't stop whenever that went into post-COVID, as Walter called it. That went virtual, that training and engagement did. And as we put in the comments, collectively, those efforts have engaged more than 200, approximately 230 teachers in Uganda, both northern and southern Uganda, really all around the country. That broad network also includes administrators and partners in the Ministry of Education and the Curriculum Development Council. And so the point here of all of that is, Walter, that the work that you're doing is impacting hundreds of teachers, thousands of students, and we appreciate your time this evening or this afternoon if you're here in the States to teach us more about that. Walter, do you have any final summary comments that you would give to our friends who are joining us?
Yes, Tobin, I wouldn't wish to leave out these 2 points, which I feel are really very important as far as how we are engaging the youth is concerned. So, in an effort to develop leaders who will really take the mantle when Field of Hope is not there, or whether it's there, is ensuring that we develop the capacity of passionate agriculturists, where Field of Hope also has a scholarship scheme that is offered to agriculture students. And I'm so blessed and so happy to say that actually I'm the inaugural recipient.
That's right. Walter is the first recipient of the scholarship. And so, Walter, what can you tell our viewers, what are you doing in studying agriculture? Where are you studying, and what's the current status for you?
Okay. So thank you so much, Tobin. I'm always so excited, when it comes to this topic. So right now I'm studying at Makerere University, which is in Kampala. Actually, it's a leading government institution in the country, and has a really very credible record among the universities in Africa. So I'm pursuing Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. So that's a very broad course, and it touches all aspects of agriculture. So when you hear me talk about the different disciplines in agriculture, it gave me the platform to actually talk about it. So it's a 4-year course, and right now I'm in 2nd year. And actually, as I speak now, I'm at school or at the college. So
like a typical college kid, Walter is skipping out on his homework to talk to me on Facebook, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's part of the job. Yes. So I'm so excited always, and I don't regret anything about what I'm doing. So I must say I'm really happy. Yes. So
I sidetracked you. You said there were 2 points. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead with your second.
Yes. So I talked of the scholarship opportunity, but also Field of Hope recognizes the need to still build the capacity of the people who are out of institutions, out of colleges. So we provide internship and volunteer opportunities to these people, so that they're in position to work with us to build their technical capacities, their professional knowledge, such that even though they don't work with us in future, but at least they are better equipped to handle the dynamics, or as far as agriculture is concerned, in the near future. So this is also another way that we feel this youth can, be more equipped to really go out there and do their job.
Excellent. So Walter reminded us then of 2 additional programs. We have our university scholarship, of which he's a recipient, and then we've also got Field of Hope offers internship availabilities for Ugandans to learn more about agriculture and volunteer opportunities. And I suspect, viewers, if you're still hanging with us, you'll hear more about those opportunities in our next Lunch and Learn, or in a future one where we talk about leadership development. And I'm seeing, I think we've addressed most of the questions that we've had sent to us. Walter has given us a great overview of how Field of Hope is engaging agriculture education. And it would be important for us to note that those efforts are done. Field of Hope is a faith-based Christian organization. And so we view our efforts to grow ag education as efforts to also spread the love of Jesus to people all around the world. Walter, I'm thankful that you are being a great leader for us in doing that. We're thankful for the information that you've shared with all of us here today. And I'm thankful just to get to see my friend Walter again. One of the many aims that we have, Walter and I are trading skills for services here. Walter is going to teach my kids. He's going to teach my kids how to be better at football. And I'm going to teach Walter how to play the harmonica, right? So Walter's a big soccer fan, and he's trying to get my kids to be better at soccer, and then we'll be in a jam. All right, everybody. So thanks again for joining up for our Lunch and Learn today. You can see in the comments you have opportunities to follow up with Field of Hope's website, to get connected to our email community. And when is our next Lunch and Learn? Walter, Alexa, it's probably here.
It's on the 5th of May.
The 5th of May. Thanks, Walter. I'm glad you knew. 5th of May, right here on Facebook Live. Again, it will be at noon Central Time for you to connect again. And if you want to know more about any of the things that you guys heard about today from Walter, you can email us at office@fieldofhope.org, or you can message us here on Facebook, and we can connect your questions to Walter and to our Field of Hope staff. We are thankful for all of you and for your time. And with that, we will conclude today's Lunch and Learn. Obanga Migum, God bless you. Thanks to everyone. Walter, thank you.
Thank you so much. Obanga Migum.
All right, we appreciate you guys.